Welcome to episode 4 of Night Base Energy. On this episode, we've got UK-based production duo Gorgon City, aka Matt and Kai, in the building. These guys have 2 studio albums under their belt, on top of a plethora of EPs and singles. They've had several top 20 hit songs on the UK singles chart. They've toured venues and festivals all over the world. They've even recently started their own record label called Realm. Sinden and I have known these guys for many years, so it was great to sit down, catch up with them, hear about their crazy fast rise to fame and success, amongst many other things. So without further ado, please enjoy Night Base Energy with Gorgon City.
Welcome along, Night Base Energy. Myself, Sinden, and AC in the building. Also joined by our special guest this week, Gorgon City.
Hello.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Good.
It's been a minute.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Good to be back in LA.
Yeah, man. Good to see you guys.
Welcome
Yeah,
back.
Sunny LA.
Always.
So before we get into kind of what you guys are up to now and present day Gorgon City stuff, we like to kind of take it back and give people a bit of an insight to what you guys were doing before that, how you guys came together, where were you musically, etc. So, Matt, do you want to kick it off? What were you doing before you guys came together? And
So yeah, it was probably about 7 years ago. I was doing a project called Rack and Ruin, and I was working with the label Black Butter, which is like a London-based. At the time, it was kind of. Yeah, it was like a bass music label. It was a dance music label back then. At the moment, it's more of a kind of pop and grime and hip-hop label, which is now part of a major. But back then, it was much more, focused on house and garage and sort of a bit of grime as well. They did quite a few big grime releases. I was making tunes, just like bass music stuff. I guess it was a bit more kind of night bassy, some of it. I was quite electro, kind of house at that time, that, like what you guys were doing,
For sure.
what FOMO was doing, what Zinc was doing, what, all those kind of acts back then, Jack Beats, everyone. And it was I was kind of in that world a little bit, but it was more, I kind of got into this weird random sort of jungly sound as well. I think Rack and Ruin for me was kind of everything bass. It wasn't just 4/4. It was like jungle and garage and all that stuff as well. So I always kind of was into everything. But obviously I loved house as well. Previous to that, I was into more drum and bass and jungle stuff as well, like when I was younger. And I guess me and Kai met when Black Butter was kind of a really hot label. With people like Rudimental. They had lots of people like Hostage and Was and who else? A load of cool like
Kidnap Kid.
Yeah. It was like
Yeah.
a lot of like experimental stuff kind of.
as well. Yeah. It was a really good label. I'm not saying it's a bad label now, and it has lost its swag, but it was a real cool like movement in London amongst our friends, like our kind of. It was kind of like a big family, a sort of Black Butter family, kind of similar to what you guys have with Night Base. We do our own parties all the time. We do big raves in London and around the UK. Mainly London, though. Like, it was a very London-based sort of little scene. And then, then me and Kai met, made some tunes, and then we put out our first EP on Black Butter. So that's kind of how it started, I suppose, when it came to releasing the tunes as Gorgon City. But
funny little connection is like on my old label, Party Like Us.
Yeah.
We put out the one Rack and Ruin
EP,
which is really cool.
Yeah, and so I met Aaron when I was doing Rack and Ruin, even like at early stages of Rack and Ruin, and I was a big fan of Trouble and Bass. And I used to go to the Trouble and Bass parties, and I think I played like 1 or 2 Trouble and Bass parties like at that time. And and then I did a release with Party Like Us.
Yeah, but you know what's cool about that stuff when I listen to like the Rack and Ruin stuff, it's so different. I mean, pretty different than what you guys do now, but there's a lot of similarities. The vibe is there, like the vocal and that song Cross the Line that you put out with us. It's like, it sounds like kind of like Gorgon City in a way. It's pretty cool.
I think those tunes were probably my first kind of proper experience with working with vocalists. So I did that tune for Erin, and I did a tune for Black Butter with Jessie Ware. I did a couple tunes with her. That was the first time I'd ever like recorded a singer, and I was I had no idea what I was doing. I was just
That's a good first.
I had a microphone like this in my bedroom in my parents' house, and like I don't even think I had a pop shield. It was just literally just like in my bedroom, and that was the beginning of working with vocalists. And I think that's kind of what when I was doing that, it was very soon after that me and Kai started working together. So it was kind of like the vocalist thing was part of it, part of my kind of like production technique at the time. It was something which I was getting into. So I think that kind of that was helping, because Henry, my manager at the time, was like, oh, you're working with vocalists now. You're not just a dance music producer. You're not just making like club records. You're making tracks with singers and kind of writing kind of hooks and songs and stuff. So I think he saw the potential in Gorgon City as well, like, because he was like, oh, you're working with Kai, like you could bring singers in as well,
right?
And that's kind of when it started, because when we did the tune with Yasmin called Real, that was the first proper like Gorgon City release on Black Butter, like which people sort of took notice of. And that was, I suppose, that mentality in my head of working with singers, was a bit of an influence maybe to why we got those singers in the first place, because Henry, my manager, was like, let's do this. But yeah, and that's basically, we met through our agent. We were on TFA, the Fat Agency, which was like a little DJ agency.
I remember TFA.
Yeah,
I was on TFA for a short
exactly.
time. Yeah.
I think everyone in our scene was on TFA at one point. And that's how we met. So Kai was on the same label as same agency as me, and then we just started DJing like at the same raves and stuff.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah.
And Kai, your FOMO project, would you say it was more sort of you're going down more of a kind of DJ kind of club records path rather than a sort of vocal led?
Yeah,
thing?
I mean, I was kind of the same as Matt. Like I grew up on like jungle and drum and bass, and I first started producing when I was like 14 and was DJing around that time as well, but it was all drum and bass. That's like all I listened to, all I wanted to make. And I was doing that for years, and I kind of got a little bit into the sort of early dubstep sound and like grimy, like more experimental stuff. But it wasn't until I sort of tried making my first kind of house tune that I was actually happy with my production. And like I think it was kind of, I was inspired by when I first started hearing like Switch and like all the dub-sided stuff,
sure.
Jesse Rose.
Yeah.
I kind of always like dismissed house music before that because I thought it was a bit like, didn't really have much weight to it. It wasn't like crazy enough. But when I first heard like all that kind of stuff, that kind of just like really got me excited. And it was kind of like my first attempt of making a house tune. I was just actually like finally happy with something that I'd made. So I sent it to like a few like Kiss FM DJs, Radio 1 DJs, and they started playing it. And it kind of like took off from there. And that was like back in the MySpace era. And I kind of just like got it sort of built up from there. And then I started getting messages from promoters. And I kind of just sort of like just somehow blagged a career by just like
through MySpace.
Yeah, through MySpace.
I think we all did. Like
Yeah.
that. I was the
Right.
same. MySpace was the way of getting gigs back then.
Yeah. And like I'd get on a few flyers, like get my name out there, and then like I'd just message some like parties and just be like, look, I've played for these people, like my tunes are being played by this DJ, that DJ. I'll play your party for 50 quid.
MySpace opened up so many doors. I remember like, chatting with like Armand Van Helden like through MySpace in the early
Yeah.
That's awesome.
and getting so gassed. Like,
You'd meet your heroes.
right,
like,
and
just
people
through
were
a
super
message.
responsive on
Yeah.
that platform.
Definitely, yeah. I remember getting a message from DJ Zinc, who was like one of my childhood heroes, just going, "Hi, I'm DJ Zinc. Like I make drum and bass and breaks." And I was like, "Whoa,
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
MySpace message." Yeah.
It's crazy that MySpace comes up all the time on when we do these. Every
does.
single person that's
Yeah.
a little bit older. And
It
been
was
around for a
amazing.
minute.
It was really good for music.
Yeah.
I feel like it was you get so much response. I mean, SoundCloud is also amazing as well, but
Yeah, SoundCloud nearly got
it
as
nearly
good
got
at it, but it's like
Yeah.
it's dropped off now. Like.
Yeah, there hasn't really been another platform equal to what MySpace was.
No.
It was
Yeah,
totally
definitely.
like an organic thing that wasn't like forced. It was
true.
the first one to kind of
Yeah.
merge like being social with music. Like music was a big thing on there. Like
yeah,
for
it
sure.
broke
Yeah,
loads
yeah.
of careers,
For sure.
didn't it? Like loads of people back then. It was like, oh, you know, they're big on MySpace. That means they're big, like everywhere.
Yeah.
Like people could do whole tours. Like my friends who were in a band in New York, like they had this punk band and they were like massive on MySpace and they used to tour like America, selling out massive shows. And then when MySpace kind of like went, so did their kind of like fan base in their career, and it sort of since then it's never been the same.
that's
Which
crazy.
is quite crazy, right?
That was always my worst nightmare. Was like waking up one day and seeing like my MySpace friends count like 0.
We've gone from someone's top friends list.
yeah. I'm not in your top 8.
Tom blocked you. So going back to Black Butter, did you guys know the Black Butter guys like before you kind of started working with them? Were they friends of yours, or how did that?
So
go down?
yeah, but I did, because Black Butter was my friend Henry, who used to be my manager, and he was someone that I knew growing up. I was doing some other music before that in a duo called Equalizers, which was like, you know, different to Rack and Ruin. That was before that. Like I've been making tunes. I've been releasing tunes since I guess I was like 18. I've been making tunes since I was like, I guess 16. But then one of the guys that ran one of the labels I was on then, I introduced him to Henry, and then they started Black Butter. Like so, and then they brought this other guy Joe in. So then that was the beginning of Black Butter, and then they signed Rudimental and me, Rack and Ruin, and I think, and then Kidnap Kid was soon after that. And then I sort of helped them find more of the bass stuff, like people like Hostage and Was. We did quite a lot of records with them. But yeah, it was very kind of, at the time, it was a very small kind of just London-based thing. And it kind of, I guess it blew up because Rudimental had a #1 in England. So when that happened, everything kind of went a bit crazy. And like the label suddenly turned into this, you know, next level thing. And I guess some of the music was really, you know, amazing coming out of it. Like the Kidnap Kid stuff was really hot, and like it was incredible music. And I think that was when, and then that was when I guess we released our records with Black Butter. It was a big push for us, I suppose, because it was like the label that brought you Rudimental and like these big songs and this kind of scene with big parties are now bringing you Gorgon City, which is FOMO and Rack and Ruin together, releasing tunes that, you know, are fresh, and like it did feel like it was a help for us at the start, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think like doing the collaboration was good because it sort of came like for me like at a point where like I was going through a bit of a creative block through the last like maybe year or two before that, and because I wasn't really producing that much at that point. Like I had like a weekly show on Rinse FM. And, you know, I was sort of like getting my name out there through that. But I was kind of going through this bit of a block where I didn't really know what tunes to make. And like, it would just take me forever to finish a track. Like, it could take me like a month to finish it. And then I still wouldn't be happy with it. But when me and Matt got in the studio together, we'd just hammer out a track in a day. And like, you know, yeah, as Matt said earlier, when we made our track Real, that was just done in one day. And like, that suddenly like really blew up for us, and it was getting played like on daytime radio, and like neither of us had that before in like our whole career. So that was kind of just like, whoa, this is crazy. We could, you know, let's see where we can go with this.
I love that you get together and this burst of inspiration happens.
Yeah, definitely. It's just so easy and natural to just get tunes done.
And I was
Crazy.
the same. Like I was having a bit of a. I think the last tune I'd actually finished and done was the tune for your label before we started Gorgon. After that, I've had like a complete, just like Kai was saying, like similar to what Kai was just just finding it really hard to finish anything, just not happy with any of the tunes I was writing, and I was just getting so frustrated. And then me and Kai just made a couple tunes, and it was just like, wow, we can actually just finish stuff every time we meet up. So this is much easier than just like banging your head against a brick wall like in the studio, you know. It can get really frustrating.
Yeah, for sure.
We all know, innit?
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
It's difficult, and it does help having another set of ears. Like when you're on your own, you're second guessing stuff all the time, and you're like, "Is this actually good?" If you've got someone else there, it can be really like inspiring and like easier to realize that it's not crap.
Yeah, like someone would just like play something random, and if you're on your own, you'd be like, "Yeah, that's all right," and then try something else. But if you've got someone else in the room, they're like, "Yeah, that's the one. That'll do. Record that down. Yeah, that's fine."
Yeah.
And then you're just like, let's move on and let's go to the next part of the song.
Yeah,
It's
the
like,
other one might see the potential that you don't see.
Yeah,
That's an idea. And that's really cool to see that you can go from that low point. I mean, we've all been there where you have no inspiration and you're like, I'm never going to make fucking music again. I suck. And then to go from that to seeing how far you can go together and have a song that's on the daytime radio is pretty encouraging.
Definitely.
So after that, were you just like, let's go for it?
At that point, I thought I was going to have to get a real job. Go back to the supermarket.
But I think, Henry, my manager at the time, who then actually became both of our managers. I think you had a different manager at start, and then I think Henry sort of like
bullied him out.
bullied him out.
Pushed him out.
But then, at the time, it wasn't a, I wouldn't have. Basically, I know it's biased because I'm saying it from my point of view. But if I was you, I would have done that. If I was Kai, I would have done that, because at the time they were developing a lot of new acts, and Black Butter was a really interesting place to be, and they were running a management company, and it was just quite a good vibe.
It was kind of definitely like,
it was exciting.
It's exciting, and like having that new energy in your own career can help as well. Like, inspire you, motivate you, and like open up doors. And
we were doing massive parties as well, so we could play at these massive parties already before.
And like working with people that never worked with before. Yeah, it's kind of like, sometimes you just need a bit of a new energy and new like motivation.
And I guess that's the power of like a cool collective or a crew.
Yeah, it's like, if you're in a crew like of people that are making sick tunes, like it gives you inspiration to make sick tunes yourself and be part of it and better yourself and become involved. And it's like any label, like like what you guys have got going on, or like anyone like a Ram Records or whatever, like a big label, like they always have such amazing artists that consistently produce good music, and that energy, just you can just feel it, like, and see it with the parties that they do, and all these like compilations they'll do, and the releases just get better and better from most of the artists. And that's kind of, I guess that's kind of what happened with us when we were part of Black Butter. And obviously things kind of changed after that, because we got signed to a major and we left Black Butter.
Yeah, then Black Butter went downhill.
Yeah, sort of. So yeah,
I mean, it definitely was sort of time and place, and for you guys, it really helped you when you needed it, and kind of launched your guys' career. It was a big catalyst in kind of getting these tunes out.
Yeah.
Well, so you got the majors calling, and then it
changed a bit.
Changed a
bit. It didn't change that much. It just meant that we weren't releasing with them.
Yeah,
and things obviously just got a little bit complicated when it came to like we couldn't put tunes out of anyone else. I mean, I guess at the time when we were doing Black Butter stuff, we didn't even really think about releasing on other labels at the time, but we probably could have. But then obviously when we signed with Virgin, it was like, this is it now. We can't release on anyone else's label anymore. But it didn't really matter for some reason, just because we were like writing so much music. We were just concentrating on writing it, getting it done. And then before we knew it, we had an album.
Yeah. That kind of period of time was definitely pretty crazy. Like, I remember at first like, having all the major label records putting their offers in, and like we had like 3 or 4 different labels interested. And it was sort of just pretty crazy. It just came out of nowhere. And then like we made Ready for Your Love, and then that that went to like number 3 in the UK charts.
Yeah.
Which was just like crazy for us. Like we were like playing at shows and like being on the radio alongside like Taylor Swift, One Direction, and like just like it was just really weird.
It
like,
was really weird.
Like bizarre and surreal. And we'd be going on like TV shows that normally are just for straight pop music. Like UK people know about this show called Top of the Pops, which is just like a pop TV show, and it was just really
we played on the Christmas special on Top of the Pops,
doing this like really cheesy thing.
That's
like,
mad.
That's
what we would have been watching when we were kids. Like growing up and stuff.
We played like, I can't remember who played before us. It was something like someone like Take That or something.
Yeah.
I think it actually was Take That.
Yeah.
And like when we were kids, we were watching Take That on Top of the Pops.
That's crazy.
And we were playing with them on the Christmas special.
That was sort of really surreal, and it kind of just happened out of nowhere and like really quickly that we kind of, it was almost like we didn't really have time to take it in and think like, how crazy is this? Like, 'cause we were like too busy concentrating on like, you know, do it like what we're currently doing and like
and making the music. Yeah. So we'd be like in the studio all week, you know, and then suddenly we get to Friday afternoon, they'd be like, right, you've got to go on a TV show, or like Sunday brunch, like Sunday morning, we'd have to go in at 6 a.m. to some TV studio and do like a live performance and stuff. And it was just like, it turned into this thing which we weren't at all kind of ready for.
The first time we went on that Sunday brunch TV show, it's like Channel 4, so like one of the main networks, and I'd like had 2 hours sleep and still like drunk from the night
we were
before.
still pissed from the night
and
before.
And like you're sat next to like TV show like actors and actresses and stuff, and it was just like really bizarre.
Because you must have been playing tons of shows.
Yeah.
All night.
Yeah, it's pretty non-stop.
Those first few years of when we first got like signed to Virgin, it was intense. It was like probably 2 years flat out of just non-stop work, like gigging, touring, producing, like promo.
And how were you handling it? And because this is like such a new thing for you guys.
I think we were literally, if people would ask us that, and we'd just be like, I don't know, just taking every day. Every morning you wake up, you look at your phone, and you're like, right, what have I got to do? And then it's like, you got to be here, and then.
Yeah,
then
even like,
where's the next single? Like,
and even like the music making side of it, like Matt was saying earlier, it's like actually writing songs was pretty new to us, and working with vocalists and like cutting vocals, processing vocals, that was kind of new to us. So we were kind of like making that first album, we were learning as we went along, and we were doing stuff like, you know, because we had the label behind us, they could get us in the studio with like a string. Like strings or like a choir.
Yeah.
So we were going in, recording choirs, string like quartets and stuff, and it was kind of all that stuff was crazy and new.
Yeah,
for
they'd be
us,
like, we need the
learning
sheet
how to
music
do
for
that.
a
It's just,
string
like,
octet.
Really crazy.
We'd be like, we need the string music for a string octet.
We're like, what's? Yeah, so we're like, and then we'll have gigs on the weekends, so we're like cutting that on the road and like producing tracks, trying to finish stuff off while touring. Yeah, it was pretty hectic.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So you went from like basically producing tunes on like a laptop in your house to like basically people being like, here's every resource in a studio you could ever want.
Yeah.
Let's try it. And were you like up for it? Like, were you like, let's just fucking go for it and do the orchestra or whatever?
The choir. Yeah, I mean, it was quite daunting, but like...
And how different is that from like how much in control are you, or like what's the differences from just being all yourself? Like,
I think the way we did it was that we worked with, you know, we collaborated with other people, with other songwriters and with other vocalists, which kind of were in that world. So, for example, when we worked with this guy, Jimmy Napes, who writes a lot of the Disclosure stuff, and Sam Smith, he wrote one of the songs on our album with us called Unmissable. And we were like, right, we want to get a choir. And he was like, well, I know how to direct a choir. So like, if you need me to help you, then I'm happy to help you. And we were like, yeah, we'll probably need some help.
you're like, no, I got this.
Yeah. So he came with us to the studio where we recorded the choir, and he could help us do it. And I suppose we learned a lot. We learned a lot about in that whole period, we learned so much about songwriting, so much about song structure, about lyrics, about like harmony, about just like writing like songs rather than club tracks. It was a different kind of mentality, and working with all these different people helped us massively. Like I remember working, I don't know, even just working with Jimmy Napes, I think we learnt a lot. Like I learnt a lot about harmonies and choirs and working out fifths and thirds and like what sounds good and how many vocalists you need for certain harmonies, and like that was a massive help when it comes to vocal production in the studio, like about how to mix vocals, how to like process them, and how to comp them, how to record them properly on the fly while you're with a really like experienced singer or songwriter. Like you need to be able to keep up with them.
Yeah.
Otherwise the session's not going to go well. So you kind of like, we'd never done that before.
Yeah, you guys both self-taught as well. Did you go to school or?
Yeah, I kind of taught myself.
Yeah, I taught myself. My friend,
That's like when I was like 14, and it was on Reason back then. It's like Reason 2 or 3.
Yeah,
it's like so different then. It didn't even have like you couldn't even put audio straight on the track. Like everything had to be MIDI. It's kind of like, I definitely couldn't use it now. But yeah, I switched to Ableton a few years ago. But yeah, it's kind of all like learning. Back then, you didn't really have YouTube tutorials either. There was like a lot of like internet forums, like production forums, and I learned a lot of stuff on that, even though you get a lot of bad advice on that. So it was all like trial and error. But I think the main thing I've learned is like that there's no right or wrong way of doing anything when it comes to production. You know, some of the stuff that you do that other people might consider like the wrong way, like sort of becomes, part of what your style is. So I think it's important to realize like there's no right or wrong way, but it kind of, it did take a long time to get anywhere I was happy with, because I didn't have like a school or something to go to.
Yeah.
And now it's like school by just being dropped right into it
Yeah.
with like the best in the industry.
Yeah.
You probably learned really quick how to write a sick pop song, I guess.
Yeah, so, but I think the experience that we both had in mixing our own songs, from the sort of drum and bass and like house and like grime like background that we had, I definitely think that kind of gave us a massive like advantage over other like people who were trying to make that kind of pop music like at the time, or like just in general, just because we really understand how to mix tracks ourselves. We understand like frequencies and drums and how to make them really bang, and we know how to make the bass sound like fat and full. And that's what gave us our sound anyway.
Yeah, because it's
and
quite
adding a vocal on top, to be honest, that's like the easy bit. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, like making like drum and bass, like dubstep and like like the sort of bassy stuff. It's quite technical, like learning how to like make the sub bass work and like work with a kick drum. It's like it's all about the mix, where I guess like and that sort of becomes your sound. Like
And like that is I mean obviously we're a bit biased, but that to master that is tough. Like it doesn't happen overnight. Like obviously nowadays maybe it's a little bit easier with, I don't know. I mean it's not. It's still tough to make a tune sound really good in the club and to sound as good as other tracks, sound good in the mix and stuff. So, but I definitely think like it was a massive learning curve, like starting to write all these songs. But I think we were comfortable like in our world, that we were comfortable enough in our world to make it sound how we wanted it to sound. And then putting a vocal on top wasn't that challenging. It was more the actual writing the lyrics and writing them like the actual song itself, which was tough, and it still is tough. You know what I mean? We do it all the time, but it is tough, and like that's what we're out here in LA doing, working with singers and songwriters to kind of write more tracks for the next record. And LA is a big place for that. There's loads of people here, like singers and songwriters that we work with a lot. We come here, like I guess once or twice a year to do a few weeks to get a load of material, and then we take it back to our studio in London to finish it. But But yeah, it is definitely daunting. I still get completely sort of like terrified before I go into a session every time. I never know what we're going to do. I'm always like, oh my God, I've got no ideas. Like,
So you know who you're working with, obviously.
Yeah, most of the time you
can
do.
do some prep work.
You can, but you don't. Well, you do, like, for like when we were doing it at the beginning, it was literally like no idea.
Yeah.
Because we'd never done it before, and most of the time we'd never met these people before, and we didn't really know how it all worked.
Yeah.
But-
We've kind of like, after a while, we've kind of developed our own like process of how we do it. And we kind of find that a lot of the time we'd used to like build and produce a whole track and then like show us sing it and go, all right, let's write something to that. And it would be really difficult. And we found over time that the best way of doing it is to turn up to the studio with like the most basic idea, like literally some chords coming from a synth or like a little piano melody, literally 4 chords like on loop. And then we sort of soon learned that that's the best way to write a song, because you can like, you're not like, you know, constrained to like how the beat sounds and how the drops go and stuff. So that made it easier, so we can just literally turn up and just like, is like 4 chords, let's write something. So you can turn up like really unprepared.
Yeah,
which we always do.
Like a really simple bit of sound for someone to
And they could write a whole song over that, and then we'll change the chords or the bass line afterwards. But
So you'll do that back in the UK or
Generally.
working out?
Yeah, so like, when we do the session, we'll come out at the end of the day with a song just written over these like 4 chords or whatever. And then, when we get back home in our own studio where we're sort of comfortable with how it sounds and how to mix there, then we'll sort of go in and like spend more time on like making the beats, changing up the sounds, getting the bass line sorted. And then like the song could even like not even have the original chords in it anymore. We'll just sort of create the track around the song. And we kind of found that that's the best formula for us.
It's almost like you kind of create your own stems for a remix. Not quite a remix,
sort
but
of,
you end up with like the vocal, the pads and chords and piano,
then-
whatever. And then you kind of construct it how you want in your guys' style.
yeah, it is. Sometimes it's actually. Sometimes we'll like sample the. So we'll turn the song, and we'll just take like a few bits of it, and then turn them into kind of like sampley sounding vocals, and turn them into like club bangers.
Yeah.
A lot of the songs that don't like make it as songs, we do that. We'll take like a little bit of the vocal and then just mash it up, and then put it on a banger, and then that'll just be like a new tune basically, rather than worrying about, because sometimes you can get like that with songs. You can really like try and make the song work as a kind of song, and it sometimes it doesn't work.
And
So
you got to worry about offending the vocalist. You're like, you didn't like my song? Yeah, loved it. It's like, why did you only listen? Like, use 2 seconds of the vocal. then?
pitch them down and make
Pitched it right.
make me sound like a man or something.
Yeah, that's dance music for you.
Yeah. But that's the thing, and some of the best sort of like bangers we made have come from that, and it's fun because we don't, it's not like we're sampling someone else. It's like we're actually sampling our own records, which is cool. And
it happens quite a lot actually, especially sometimes like now we've got a back catalogue of tunes that we've just never used, and we know that they'll never get heard otherwise. So it's like you can't lose, you can't go wrong. Like, might as well sample them. And like we've been doing that like recently, bringing out stuff that we've made 5 years ago that didn't make the first or second album, and we kind of forgot about it, and we're like, actually, now in 2019, I've kind of like got some new ideas of how we can use these like melodies or vocals. So we've sort of started sampling our own back catalogue from unused tracks. That's kind of been pretty interesting as well.
That's cool.
That's cool. I mean, and one of the great things about what you guys do is that you're always so connected to the clubs as well, even though you're making like these great radio records, with your when you remix yourselves and also your Realm label. So is that something that you always conscious about, like just making sure that your music is resonated in the clubs as well as on the radio?
Yeah, definitely. Like, that's where we have fun, and you know, that's what we're into and what we've always been into is like club music. And in our DJ sets, that's what the kind of stuff that we like to play out. So, you know, the stuff that we make on our albums and the more vocally stuff, that's good for our live show when we're playing with our band. But when we're DJing, we want stuff like fresh for us to play out. And, you know, we're always making tracks without vocals, like more clubbier stuff, more bassliney stuff. And, you know, that's like what I have fun making. And that's something that we'll always want to do. And that's why we set up our new record label, Realm, to release more stuff like that and to release stuff by other people. And like that's kind of our new project at the moment, what we're like really excited about. And, you know, we've only been running it for like maybe a year. We've only really just started like releasing tracks by other people on like a regular basis pretty recently, only the last like few months. And it's kind of like, yeah, it's really exciting seeing how it picks up, like setting up a record label, because it does take a few months to get going, but it feels like we're really getting into the swing of things now.
Yeah.
We've started doing our own parties, and yeah, it's fun.
I feel like the label makes sense for you guys too. Just like it was the right timing to drop it and get it going. And you guys do events as well. I played the one in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
It was really fun.
That was wicked.
I love the vibe at the Rome. Event.
Yeah.
It was
that
really
was
cool.
the first. Was that? Oh no, that was. We did one in New York before that, and I think that was the second Realm party we'd ever done. New York was the first, then San Fran, and then we did London after that. And then we've got a few more coming up, and like, yeah, they've been mad. Like the one in New York was insane as well. We had quite a big lineup for that one. That was at the Mirage, and that sold out. That was like 4,500 people, which was just like completely insane. And then the San Fran was sold out as well, which was like just us and you, which was sick as well. And like, yeah, we're really trying to sort of push. We're trying to develop some of the artists that we've signed. You know, we've signed this guy called Kyle Kinch, who you met.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
I played a show in like I want to say like Tampa, Florida, and he came up and he was like, you know, Matt and Kai, and I'm like, yeah, and he was so friendly, and he was like, yeah, I'm on their label, and he sent me like 30 tunes, and they're all banging, and I was like, yeah, it's really cool, man. I love that. Developing artists is like really important.
Yeah. So we're trying to like, you know, just give him that kind of ambition and confidence to kind of keep creating more interesting tunes. Like we really want, you know, he did a really big tune at the start, this tune called Manchester, and that's kind of why we signed him. And we're just trying to give him that confidence and that energy to keep doing it. And that's what can happen when you get signed to a label. We want to have that for the acts that we're signing.
Yeah, kind of want to create like a family that can play on our label, like night parties, like on a regular basis, but also like, you know, help them branch out and do other stuff and like, you know, play all over the world. We had Kyle play for our first Realm party in London. That was sick.
Yeah, and that was the first time he'd been to Europe.
Florida, smashed
really?
it.
Yeah, like he'd never been to Europe before, and he was like, we were like, "This is your first time in London?" He's like, "This is my first time in Europe, motherfucker." I was like, "Whoa, that's crazy." It's an amazing thing to be able to do, you know. And yeah, it's our first opportunity to do that. Like we've been wanting to do the label for a long time, and like you say, it is.
Yeah, it felt like the right time to do it.
Yeah.
So how many artists are you developing? Is there kind of like a goal with that? Like,
yeah, I don't know. I guess it would be probably like just a small amount, like 3 or 4 or 4 or 5. Like at the moment, we're just still looking. So we're kind of like, we've got a few acts, but you know, in our world, it's like the people that are releasing tunes kind of are releasing tunes with everyone.
Yeah. Like we've got a few tunes by like people that are more like established and doing other things, like Billy Kenny. Obviously, he's got his own thing going on. Like Huxley, he's like established, been doing things for a while. So yeah, we're kind of open to like release stuff with like people who are friends and like who are from like other like groups and like just getting like signing like new talent, people that we're like excited about.
I think that's where we get the most excitement from. Signing new, undiscovered people. I mean, that's what for us. That's what the label's about. I mean, we love we kind of like, we love releasing stuff from people that we already know, because that's like, they're our friends, and we know that they'll be popular, like people like Billy Kenny and Huxley and stuff.
And also the sound's quite open as well.
Yeah.
Like, because like in our DJ sets, it's like really varied. We kind of like to go all over the place. So, you know, there's housey stuff, tech housey stuff, and like a lot of progressive stuff, like these guys called Local Dialect, a bit more melodic. And even the tunes that we release from ourselves are kind of a bit more all over the place. Like some are really heavy and banging, some are really melodic.
So, we're trying to like...
hasn't really got like a specific sound. It's kind of just what we like playing in our DJ sets.
Yeah. We're not kind of trying to make it just one type of like house music. We really want it to be quite varied. But I suppose what would be cool is to have, you know, a sort of selection of acts that all are quite different to each other, and then like develop them. So like someone like Kyle Kinch and someone like Local Dialect. Then there's a guy from the UK called Sam Gerling who's doing some really cool stuff.
Yeah,
and I think we're gonna do a bunch of releases with him in next year as well. So, and that, you know, all those, that even just those three, their tunes are really different sounding. So if we could do that and then develop those people, so it's more of a label thing rather than a sound. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not, yeah. I mean, it might be a bit, I guess with Night Bass, it's kind of like, everyone's got their own style, but it's all quite, you know, geared towards the same vibe, because Night Bass is kind of like, you know, a party as well as a label. It's like people go to see Night Bass live. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how our thing is different, but I mean, it's like,
I was going to say that.
It's quite, I don't know.
I was going to say that
yet, so.
your labels, the sound is just your guys' personal taste.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It could be 100 different artists, and I would say Night Bass is the same for me. It's like, I put out stuff that I would play in a DJ set.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
stuff
that's
that
kind
I
of,
like.
So maybe for us, like, we think that it's like, you know, the styles are all over the place, but maybe like from the outside they'll be like, that's
it's
Gorgon
something
City.
it's something
that's
that
realm.
it's something that fits into a part of a Gorgon City DJ set.
Yeah. It's hard to see it from the outside yet, because it's so new.
Yeah, it's like still really early days, so it's like, you know,
we don't.
I guess we're sort of finding the sound of it, and like,
we're constantly just trying to find new bits, and
it's kind of like all quite experimental for us at the moment. It's such early days. It's fun. It is really exciting for us, and you know, it kind of makes you really dig for new music, where maybe like as a DJ you might get lazy and just like go through your promos and see what you like. But now we're sort of really hunting down like new music from new artists, and like really sort of going in, and like sometimes we'll get sent tracks by people and be like, oh yeah, we want to road test it for a bit. And it kind of makes your DJ sets more exciting as well, because you're playing all this like unreleased music.
I love that.
Yeah. Like getting demos, like now we get sent all these amazing demos all the time.
How do people hit you up with demos? Do they just...
It's a
You're
mixture.
about to get a ton of demos from our listeners.
It's crazy. Like a lot of people have suddenly
found out our email
address recently. We're getting all these promos from like our like normal private email address. It's like,
how do you find that time to listen to all these amongst your schedule? You're always DJing. It seems.
I think like setting a time, like even just like this morning, I woke up quite early, and I just did like 2 hours of listening to demos. And like it's amazing how much good stuff there is out there, like, and how many people are making sick music. But no, it is tough to find the time, and a lot of it we do have a label manager that helps us like filter out some of it, and he gets sent a load of stuff that he sends to us like that he thinks is hot, and then we'll check it out. And same with our manager as well. So we do get a bit of help with the A&R side of it, but I think most of the stuff like we've signed, we've kind of signed ourselves. And that we've been really into. There hasn't been anyone else that's kind of like forced us to sign anything or anything. But
I think there is like a separate email that we've got that people can send us demos. I can't remember what it is now.
Well, no, there's a contact on our Instagram, on the Realm Instagram. There's a contact. I think it's Gerald@infectiouspr.com. Those will come to us. But somehow, everyone's got our personal email now, but I'm not going to put it out there. But literally, you could probably find it really easily. It's probably online somewhere because everyone's got it. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why, but
and for kind of aspiring artists, what do you guys look for in a demo?
Definitely something unique, like
Not
like
generic.
something that's not like trying to follow the trends. It's got to have something unique that makes it stand out. I feel like when you make a track, you've got to like feel like you've got something to say. You want to do something that's a bit different, or like have an experiment that you want to try, or just like try and make it emotive in some ways, whether it's like actually emotional, or it could just be something that's so ridiculous that makes you feel something, or something that makes you laugh even. It's got to just make you feel something.
yeah, it's got to stand out basically and be unique in that way. What do you look for in a demo when you sign to stuff?
I usually answer the same thing that you guys said. Like, definitely has to be unique. The issue with getting night-based demos is we have quite a few artists that are really unique, like Phlegmatic Dogs, for example.
Yeah.
PD kind of, I don't want to say discovered, I hate that term, but he first like showed them to me when they were first starting out, and it blew my mind because no one listened to it. But that's an example of like, we get 5 different emails a day of people copying their tracks.
Yeah.
But we already have, they already exist. You know what I mean? So to me, it's great. The music's good, but to those people, I say like keep working on your own style. You'll find it, and it's not an easy thing to find. Yeah, it might be an accident. You might have an epiphany.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of times the thing I notice is you get a lot of kind of imitation of other artists that are already on the label, which is great. But like you said, originality to me is king. And then also, if I start like talking to the person, I like a good attitude, a cool personality, like high hopes and expectations, and not just like hurry up and sign me kind of vibe. I don't like that. I like a humble person. So I think it's more than the music too, as well.
That's definitely true. Like,
because having a career in music, it's more than just making cool tunes.
You
got to be able to
be the right person,
function with other crazy
you need
people.
to be a functioning human being. No weirdos.
None of us are really normal, but like you got to be able to like interact with other humans, and
you got to be social. You got to be like socially like not. Yeah, you have to be socially kind of like with it.
It's true. You can sort of even get someone's vibe just by the way they write in their emails. You can sort of tell whether their vibe will suit the label or not. Like how they sort of present themselves in their emails when you're talking to them. That's
so important to me.
If they're pushy and they're really like kind of annoying about it,
expectational and like
they're like, come on, hurry up, like sign this. I'm getting, it's like that's not the way to get a tune signed, is it?
In comparison to like me when I was younger, I would send out demos on MySpace. Same as an email. You send like a link or whatever. And I was always so nervous to contact people. So I would keep it really short and straight to the point, put the song in there, not too many songs. And it kind of worked out pretty well for me. But I get these emails that are like 10 paragraphs with like 40 songs. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, it's a lot to ask. I think, anyone submitting demos should probably keep it short and sweet and professional, and proofread your email so that it makes sense
and sort of genuine, and like not copy and pasting the same thing to like every like label, whether you feel like your music will suit it or not.
Like no group emails. That's
like,
another thing
cool.
you get these demos.
Those are legendary.
And they're obviously been sent to about 1,000 labels. And they're like pretty much dear sir or madam.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or to whom it may concern. It's like
the link has got the other label. The label
Yeah.
previously in the brackets.
And a different font from where they copy and paste.
like that stuff, man. Come on, like that person doesn't actually care where they get that signed, or they're like just, you can tell. Like, I can't remember how we found Kyle Kinch, but like, I think it was like he just sent it as a random demo, and I just sort of we just thought it was really interesting sounding, and then the massive part of it was he was so cool and he was so enthusiastic and was just so sort of like, you know, he was so excited about the fact that we'd even responded to him. He was like, "Oh my God, like you've actually like replied." Like we were like, "Your tune's sick, mate." Like
yeah, part of the question you should ask yourself is like, when you want to sign a track, it's like, would I want a party with this guy? would I want this dude to come to my party?
Yeah.
Do I want this guy to come
and hang out all night,
eat dinner at my house? You know what I mean? Like, and I'm glad you guys are helping that guy, because literally the first like 10 seconds of meeting him, I'm like, I love this guy. He's just like a friendly person. He's not like trying hard or whatever. Just a genuine
genuinely excited about the whole thing. And you do meet people who, you know, and because the thing is, you know, a lot of people who, like, as we all know, like you can work as a DJ, as a producer for 5-6 years or longer before anything happens, and you could be sending tunes to record labels for that whole time. So you can get a bit like impatient and a bit jaded by everything, and you're like, I've been working so hard for this, like just hurry up and sign my tune, or like hurry up and give me a gig. It's like you can see why they're like that, but at the same time, you've got to just take a step back and just be like, you know, most of us have had to do that to get to where we are. So, you know, you just need to chill and like,
take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath.
Like, don't send the demos until you know that they're ready and like that you're actually happy with the sound. As well.
So there you go, some tips for all you aspiring career musicians.
Does it take you back to when you guys were shopping tunes out in like...
Definitely, because I suppose before we had the label, we wouldn't really get as much. I mean, obviously on SoundCloud and stuff, you get people to like, oh, check out my new track, but they wouldn't be like, you know, submitting tunes for our label. So yeah, it definitely has brought me back to that, and it's like... Yeah, but it's cool. It's like it reminds me of me. Like you know what I mean? It's like it's cool, and you do find the diamonds in the rough or whatever, and it's amazing when you get that. I mean, we've only just started, and it's fun. It's nice to have something, you know, in this music industry that we literally, until a year ago, we'd never done it before, and it's like fresh, and we don't know what we're doing. It's just like, it's nice to have something like that in this world that, you know, we're learning every day about how it all works, like running a label, and it's
kind of
cool.
Reminds me of like when I first started sending like demos out. I like made loads of mistakes. I'd sign with the first label that like would accept it, even though they're like the terrible label and never heard of, and like, you know, signing tunes, not getting the contract signed, not getting paid for it. And I remember like being offered remixes, and I'd like do the remixes so late that the tune had already come out, and I'd miss the my opportunity. And then in the end, I'd just like leak my remix on MySpace, and they were like getting loads of trouble. Like I didn't even have a clue what I was doing when I first started out.
But I do think all of that experience really helps you when you years later come to run a label. Like one of my goals with Nightbase was like, I want everyone to get paid, and like on a timely fashion, because I don't know if there's very few labels I've signed to, like dozens of labels over 10 or 15 years. Maybe a couple have paid me for anything.
Yeah, definitely, same.
So it's little things like that, I think, add up to how you run a label. You kind of think of your ideal scenario for when you were coming up, what you would want.
You want to be fair and like treat people how they should be treated. And like, it's crazy. Like when you say that, like there's so many tracks that, you know, say I've released like years ago. There's probably people still buying those tunes now, like probably not many, but I'd never see any of that money. It's not like you're getting invoices sent from like these labels from 10 years ago going, 10 people bought your track this year.
I remember
£2.
Oh my God, it's so funny. I was talking to Ollie about that, like who from Black Butter and stuff, and he was like, we were talking about tunes. He's like, you know, there's still money coming in from like those tunes from back in the day. I was like, really? He's like,
really?
Yeah.
Is there now?
He's like, well, you don't deserve any of it. I'm like, but we were just joking about, because obviously it is so minor. It's probably like
Yeah.
talking like £9 or £10 like a year for something.
I don't know. Might be more than that.
Might be more. But
You never know.
yeah, I don't know. But it's definitely important to do what you've waited so long to do it how you'd want it to be done when you were younger.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, that's a good point. Like I think you can't just run a label and be a dickhead about it. You need to like look after your artists, and otherwise they'll just stop doing it. Do you know what I mean? They'll get so disheartened that they'll stop making music, and then they'll have to do something else, and that's not what you want. You want everyone who wants to do it to be able to do it and have a chance, and like really go for it. And that's the problem with a lot of like people that make tunes, and they'll get a couple of releases, and then something goes wrong, and then they don't get enough gigs, and then they just stop doing it. There's so many acts like over the past like few years that that you become a fan of, and then suddenly they just vanish. Like that's happened a lot. Like I don't know, maybe more in house music or something, but there's been
Why do you think that is? Is just a momentum thing that just don't have the...
Yeah, or maybe they're not on the right label, or they haven't got the right support like network, like they haven't got the right management, or they just genuinely can't support themselves, like, and they need to like and they can't have any more time to make music.
Yeah, it is tough. Yeah, like I think a lot of it is luck, like doing the right thing at the right time, like, or making the right track when a certain scene happened to just be popping off. Like a lot of it is down to luck, and
the timing thing is so crucial as well.
Yeah, and I guess that comes down to like being original and being unique. Like you're making music at a time where like that music is fresh and interesting and not being done, not being like overplayed to death. So people like they get the timing right, and it is tough.
Have you guys had any moments like that since your kind of initial success with Gorgon City where you felt stuck or in a rut or anything? Has it always kind of been like rolling pretty smoothly?
Yeah, luckily we haven't really. I mean, because we've just been so busy, and like it's been so sort of easy to kind of continue to carry on to make more music. Obviously we put the first album out, and then it was like, right, we've got to make another one, and then we just carried on making music. It wasn't like when we first finished our first album, we stopped making music for a while. We just continued to make music the whole time. We're dance music producers. Like we constantly make tunes. It's not like we're a band where we like do 6 months touring, 6 months in the studio, 6 months touring, and like do an album. We're constantly making music. So it's never felt like oh shit, we've slowed down. We haven't got any ideas.
Yeah, it's true.
What
like
we're gonna do? It's like we've always got.
So if you're like a touring band, you make the album, and then you tour that album for like 2 or 3 years, and then you get back in the studio, and you're like, right, we need a new sound. Like, what's the new material going to be like? We're going to just like, because we're always DJing, it's like we've always got like that sort of inspiration and, just being connected with what we want to hear in the clubs at the time and what we're playing in the clubs. So it's sort of like more of a continuous like stream rather than like these sort of dips.
Yeah, and I definitely think that a massive part of the reason why we do get that inspiration, because we can do the more like mainstream song stuff and the underground stuff. If we just did one, it would be a lot harder. But because we've got both sides of it we've always got that inspiration to make the next like idea, because we could spend a whole day in the studio writing a song with a singer, and then the next day we could get back in the studio and just make like a techno tune.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Even the sort of song-based stuff, like we produce it in a way of like what we're feeling in the clubs at the moment and like what kind of club music we're making. So I guess it's kind of like, yeah,
we're lucky to be able to do that, because
it's like both worlds.
Both worlds, but being on a lot of people who get signed to a major label will be kind of like, sort of told what to do. In a way, they'll be like, right, this is going to be your sound. You're going to work with this producer. You're going to work with this songwriter. This is how you're going to be marketed. Like that does happen.
Do you think that's a decision that the artist has to make? Like, some people don't know. Like, I guess you guys grinded it out in the underground for a while. You made your own decisions.
Yeah.
And had ideas. Do you think that some artists suddenly blow up and then people are telling them do this, and they just don't know any better and go along with it? Or do you think
I
they
think
don't
so.
have a choice?
I think so.
think
Even
so,
and in dance music especially as well. Like if someone makes just one tune and it's like a massive tune, their label.
But I guess like
make
some
more.
people don't want that. Some people don't want to do what we do. Like some people aren't interested in playing at underground venues or underground like festivals. Some people just want to play like main stages at big like pop festivals. You know, like, and you see like a lot of dance producers that don't really have an interest in the underground. That's like fine. Like it's not for everyone, and I think like there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I think we definitely enjoy playing like smaller venues and like sweaty underground clubs and clubs that we're actually fan and sort of and that we'd go to ourselves.
Definitely.
And like, it's kind of like we do it because that's what we love. And I think like some people don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Some people just want to be like pop
Main stage,
pop
like,
dance
ultra.
producers. Yeah.
And you guys love obviously playing like the smaller rooms as well.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
get to play different kinds of
Yeah,
kinds of music. And,
Yeah. And we-
Especially like
you know.
playing like a long set, like playing like 5 hours to
Yeah,
a like
yeah.
300 cap room.
yeah,
That's
in like
always sick.
in like somewhere random like Prague or something, you know. What I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's where you really get into it. And
Oh yeah, there's been some good spots. You played like some random places. Or,
yeah, I think Prague is always good.
Yeah, there's a club called Roxy.
Yeah, that's a sick club. Playing at places like, you know, like Sub Club in Glasgow, like
Classic.
amazing, classic.
yeah.
Like
Yeah,
what is
yeah.
it, 200 cap or something, or 300, and it's
Yeah.
just slamming.
Dark
that.
basement.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everyone's just banging on the ceiling, and like the sub bass is like under the floor.
Yeah.
That place is great.
Yeah, there's a lot of solid places in the
played-
UK, like Motion in Bristol.
Yeah, that's a good
Stealth Nottingham's pretty cool. We're playing that in a couple of weeks. And,
I'm trying to think of some in America that we've done that have been really like cool and sort of like small and
Have you
underground.
guys been to Grasshopper Underground?
Oh, in
Like-
Detroit?
Yeah.
Nah, haven't actually. I
haven't been there.
I've heard like a lot of good things about it though. Yeah, I've heard
Yeah,
it's really
good,
cool.
It's good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it proper just sweat?
It's proper.
Sweat,
yeah, it's
sweat
like
box?
tiny,
Really loud sound
really,
system,
really,
little
really,
tiny
really
room.
loud. yeah.
Low ceiling.
Yeah.
That sounds
That
like our
sounds
kind
good,
of club.
yeah.
That vibe, UK vibe for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
We always used to love playing at Sound. Do you guys still do Sound?
Yeah,
Is
we
that-
haven't done it in a while just because we do a lot of events.
So you have to like be careful what you do in LA and
There's
stuff.
we
Yeah.
do like stages, so then there's like kind of like a certain amount of time you can't do any other
Yeah,
events.
yeah, of
so
course.
we're working out coming back to Sound. It's been a while since
You used to
we've
do it
done
like
that.
every
month.
Every month.
Mostly every month when there wasn't like a conflict or something. But
Yeah.
we're trying to figure that out. We love it there. It's been our home since day one.
Because we
All
used to
these
play
flyers.
all these because
the
we used to
wall.
play there like before quite a lot. We used to whenever we'd come to LA, we'd always play
Yeah,
Sound.
'cause it's like one of our favorite clubs. It's got that
It's an
vibe,
incredible
like really
club,
cool vibe. Yeah,
We used to always play it on a Monday,
Yeah.
which
Oh,
was
yeah?
which was weird,
Yeah.
but it
They
was
have
like
that party that's been going for
it's like
years
an
and
industry.
Yeah.
They call it like an industry party, or I don't know. Like it was just Mondays at Sound or something, I think.
years. Yeah.
And we used to play it quite a lot, but we haven't played it for years.
What's great about Sound is they're just like so passionate about the club, and because we were doing it monthly, you come in a month later and it's like he's rearranged the entire club. Like the DJ booth might be on the other side of the room. The decorations are different, so it's not like you're going to the same place. It's the same vibe every time, but
Yeah.
it just feels different. It's a nice change. 'Cause
Yeah.
you can't be going to the same club every month for years, I love that. Speaking of small clubs, I had to bring this up because we've talked about this before, but before I started Night Bass, I went to see Kai play as Gorgon City, like at Dim Mak Studios. It used to be called
yeah,
CineSpace
yeah.
before that. And they had like a room that had like a stage where the DJs would play. But I went to see you that one night. This is in like 2013, I think. And Gorgon must have just started, but it was only you doing a DJ set. And you weren't on the stage. The booth was in the back of the room, and it was no lights. And it was just like all this UK house music, and it was like a fucking vibe. And I had already been thinking about doing Night Bass, and that kind of pushed me over the edge. And we talked for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I just want to tell you guys that was like that kind of inspired me really just taking the step to actually start Night Bass, the event. Just because I was into that music, but it was non-existent here. That was the very peak of EDM music. And to see you come and just do a really cool party that was the opposite of everything that was going on, like the big bottle service shit and all that stuff. But yeah,
Yeah, that was a sick
cool.
night, actually.
Yeah.
I remember. I think I was in bed.
There you go.
It's a
Your
random
favorite
one.
club.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's so you said you're working on the new album.
Yeah, so we've got just like a load of music that we're writing at the moment, and we're just working towards that next record now, I suppose. And we're just going to continue releasing our tunes on Realm, like the more club stuff. But yeah, we have no idea what the next record's going to sound like. We're just in the middle of like we just started kind of like getting into it now.
Yeah.
And yeah, just see
We're
what
kind of
happens.
like-
But yeah, we've got loads of other tunes that we're going to be releasing, like more clubby stuff on Realm.
Exciting.
Nice.
We'll get that Gorgon Slater collab.
Yeah,
going.
yeah.
Yeah, we need to do that.
Yeah, man.
ASAP.
Cool.
Well, thanks guys for
Thank you very much for having us.
Stepping by.
Hopefully we'll be able to do another show at a night bass party soon.
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
That was
yeah,
so
that'd be
much
sick.
fun, man.
Yeah, my favourite was when we did Electric Forest.
Oh my god.
Sage Electric Forest.
Yeah.
What, maybe 3 years,
Yeah.
2 or 3 years ago now. Yeah, that
been
was
a
sick.
while,
That's like one of my favourite festivals in America.
I would
That
love
was
to go
sick.
back and do that again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should definitely.
That forest stage. You're out in
Yeah,
the trees.
yeah.
Dude, that was
Yeah.
so
That was
good.
You were there
crazy
in
night.
Sinden. Yeah. That was, man.
I mean, who's someone like nearly fell off like the stage?
I don't remember that.
Might
Was
be
it
me. Remember, like the fence like broke or something. I can't remember.
You survived.
Hazy night.
But yeah, thanks for coming in, guys.
No
While
worries.
you're out here
Thanks for having
working.
us.
I'm glad we got to make it happen.
Cool.
Sick.
Peace.
Cool.
Thank
Cool.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.